Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a masterclass in teaching. We're going to see exactly how an expert teacher takes something incredibly complex, written language, and makes it just click for a first grader. We are unlocking the secrets to teaching the absolute fundamentals of reading and writing.
So just imagine for a second you're 6 years old. You look at a page in a book, and what do you see? It's just a total scramble of symbols. For a young learner, the written word can feel like absolute chaos. But master teachers have this brilliant strategy to bring order to the page, to turn all that confusion into clarity and, maybe more importantly, confidence.
But before we jump into the solution, it's so important to appreciate the starting point. Let's take a look at the creative and, honestly, completely logical ways that kids first try to write before they've been taught the official rules. It's what we can call the beautiful mess.
You'll see things like a sentence being one long string of letters, no spaces at all, or maybe a period shows up in the middle of a word just because it looks nice there. Now here's the thing. These are not mistakes. They are the logical first steps of a brilliant little mind trying to figure out a really complex system. They hear a sentence as one long sound, right? So they write it that way. It makes perfect sense.
Okay, so here's our game plan for this masterclass. First, we'll look at the print detective mission. Then we'll dive into the incredible analogies for the rules, see how those rules are put into practice, and finally, talk about why this whole thing unlocks a universe for a young reader.
The absolute genius of this whole approach starts with how it's framed. The goal isn't to get students to just memorize a bunch of boring rules. No, it's to turn them into empowered investigators who are on a mission.
This one sentence right here, it's a total game changer. All of a sudden, this isn't a lecture anymore. It's an exciting quest. The students get a brand new identity. They're print detectives. Their job is to find clues and crack the code of written language. And that right there creates instant buy-in and a ton of excitement.
So this is the really crucial part. How do you take these abstract ideas like sentence structure or punctuation and make them real and memorable for a 6-year-old? You can't just hand them a grammar textbook, right? You have to build a bridge from the world they already know to the world they need to learn.
So we start with the most basic unit, the sentence. Now, the definition is a complete thought. But that's still a pretty abstract idea for a kid. So, to explain this, the lesson uses this incredibly powerful concrete analogy that every single child can immediately understand and, actually picture in their head. And here it is. This is the solution. A sentence is like a train. This one simple idea gives a child a mental model, like a coat rack, to hang all these complex rules on. And as you're about to see, every single part of that train maps perfectly to a part of a sentence.
This is just brilliant. Abstract grammar becomes this physical, understandable thing. So, the capital letter, that's the engine. Of course, it's big, it's powerful, and it always leads the way. The words themselves are the train cars, and each one carries a piece of the meaning. And the spaces between words, well, those are the couplers connecting the cars. And the punctuation mark at the end, that's the caboose, letting you know the whole train has passed. It's just perfect.
And building on that, the caboose itself gets its own powerful analogy. These punctuation marks aren't just random dots and squiggles. They get a whole new identity as traffic signs that tell the reader exactly what to do.
A period is a stop sign. It's simple, it's clear, it's actionable. A question mark tells you your voice should go up at the end. An exclamation point is a wow sign that just means read with a lot of energy. This simple comparison gives every mark a clear job that a student can immediately get and apply to their own reading and writing.
Of course, having clever analogies is only half the battle. A truly great teacher knows you have to put these tools into practice. So let's see how the lesson moves from these abstract rules to reality, guiding students from practice all the way to mastery. The whole process kicks off with what we call a we-do activity. This is where the teacher and the students are working together. They're physically tracking the words from left to right with their fingers. They circle the first word, that's the engine, and they put a box around the last word, really reinforcing that idea of sentence boundaries. And they're also pointing out those super important spaces between the words. And the investigation continues. The print detectives are now on the hunt for the capital letter leader and the punctuation stop sign in every sentence. See, this isn't a drill, it's a game. It reinforces all the rules about capitalization and ending punctuation in a way that's fun, engaging, and really builds their confidence. And now we get to the crucial transition. The lesson shifts from guided practice, where the teacher is right there helping, to independent creation. It's time to move from just finding the rules to actually using them to build something new.
This is such an effective you-do activity because it's kinesthetic, it's hands-on. Students are physically cutting out the words, they're moving them around, unscrambling them to build a real sentence. This physical task helps them internalize sentence structure through movement and problem solving, not just by trying to memorize it.
In this final challenge, the students actually get to level up from builders to editors. They have to look at a jumble of words, figure out the right sequence, and then write the sentence properly. And notice that bottom section, create your own sentence. This gives them a chance to really show off what they've learned with a bit of their own creativity.
So, why does all this matter so much? Why is mastering these seemingly tiny rules, a capital letter here, a space there, so incredibly important for a young learner? What's the real endgame here?
Well, the masterclass wraps up with a very simple but really powerful check for understanding. It's a quick, direct question to make sure those absolute core concepts have been locked in. It's not a long test. It's just a focused question designed to cement the most important takeaway.
And this is the answer. For a child to be able to just say this rule so clearly, that signifies a massive leap. It is the moment when the chaos of print finally clicks into place and becomes an organized, predictable system. They've cracked the code. They now understand the fundamental architecture of written language.
And that really is the crucial point. This was never just about periods and capital letters. By giving students the keys to sentence structure, we're not just teaching them rules. We are handing them the power to communicate their own ideas, to share their experiences, and to write their own stories. We're unlocking an entire universe of expression that is going to serve them for the rest of their lives.